Bringing people into a room who line up with who you are and what you're about and the mission you're on, there's one word that we need to talk about. And that word isn't beaver, although we really should talk about that in this conversation as well.
It's Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. I'm Darla LeDoux, best-selling author, coach, and retreat leader. And I'm on a mission to normalize transformation on the planet, one intimate retreat at a time. This show's dedicated to the coaches, consultants, healers, leaders, and light workers who are here to hold space for the truth that transforms lives and get paid for it. Expert retreat and business tips, strategies, stories, and magic. It's your weekly mini retreat delivered right to your ears. Let's do this. All right, so welcome. We are here with the fabulous trio of Orange, Liston, and Dew. They are a collaboration between three beavers, Stella Orange, Rebecca Liston, and Sarah Dew, and they will tell you about what that means. But they'd basically grown tired of the old way of business building, which really struck them as unoriginal, formulaic, and the opposite of fun. And so they decided to do it differently. So Stella is a copywriter, Rebecca is a business intuitive, and Sarah is a no-nonsense strategist. And they work together with clients. So you can kind of get all of your bases covered in one shot and really looking for what is the highest and best for their clients. They host BeaverCon, which is an in-person experience, and they host Beaver Lodges online, gathering business owners around the world who just know that we can go farther and build faster when we do it together. And I'm so delighted about this conversation because I love when people are doing things differently. I love when you get the hit of, you know, this is what's really in alignment for me, and you make it happen. And I know each of you have had successful businesses in the past, and then you made this decision to follow this collaboration and create this whole new way of doing business. And, you know, when I know Stella, we've known each other the longest, and I immediately thought of her as someone that really knows how to motivate people to get in a room by talking about and speaking to that hero within them rather than speaking to what's broken or what's not working. And, you know, as you know, I work with retreat leaders, and when you're inviting people to be in person in the room, that's so important. And that was why I thought of you right away to talk about, you know, how do we activate that hero inside someone to show up for business. And it feels like, you know, that's kind of where you started doing things differently, Stella. And then it's like you've just been gathering this momentum of doing things differently and doing things that align for you and that align with more of a feminine way of doing business. And now, you know, the three of you have gathered together to do things differently. And so knowing that my listeners are really excited about having the right people be their clients, be in the room with them, the people that really align with the difference they want to make. Tell us a little bit about, you know, what you would advise, like what's your, and feel free to weave your story in of like why this is so important to you and what you've learned about getting the right people to BeaverCon and bringing in the right people into your business. Cause like, it's like, you don't mess around, right? It's like, there's no hiding. People they don't have to jump through like 18 hoops in order to get to work with you. You're doing it totally differently. So who would want to start with that?
I feel like we got to kick it over to Rebecca.
No.
Rebecca's finger went out. Well, Rebecca, I was going to say it's you because it's when we're talking about bringing people into a room who line up with who you are and what you're about and the mission you're on, there's one word that we need to talk about. And that word isn't beaver, although we really should talk about that in this conversation as well. We actually, the three of us collectively have 30 years of business betwixt and between us. and multiple businesses for those two, the other two. And so when we cooked up this idea that the three of us were going to join forces and work together, Rebecca decides that she's going to host an event last June, and didn't really, like, we were, we'd been meeting and kind of, behind closed doors, figuring out, okay, do we want to work together? Is this going to work? Like, how does this look? What's our vision for this? And Rebecca just got the green light within to create this event that she didn't have a name for it. She didn't tell me and Sarah that she considered us co-hosts for it and that we needed to be there as well. She just was guided to create this event. And the word that created this event, that, Rebecca, I want to toss the ball over to you to tell this story, was the word shenanigans.
Yep.
So,
I love this story already. Creating an event without a name or a plan. I love it.
No name. We just had dates. We had dates and we had a word. And because, and I think thinking about the people, about your listeners, Darla, and they're thinking about how to get the right people into a room. I kind of had it in my head that the people that I wanted to be in that room, I wasn't going to need anything more to get them to come, right? I was basically, I'm having a party. Like, I want all of the people that I love the most in the world to come to this thing. So I wrote an email, and I think the headline of the email was just save the date. And I went through my CRM and I picked like 30 people that I knew really well. And I sent an email that said, if you're interested in getting up to some shenanigans, in Canada, save the date. That's all I know. And let me know if you want more information when it comes available. And that's how we did it. And so I had people respond that said, oh my God, I'm totally up for shenanigans. I have no idea what that's going to be, but like, I put the dates in my calendar. I'll be there. And that's how the event really got underway. We had sold tickets before we even knew the price, before we knew, like, you know what I mean? We had people already say, yes, I will be there. And they didn't know how much it was going to cost. They didn't know even what the hell we were doing, because we didn't know. Like, I didn't even know. And so they were already responding saying, yes, absolutely, I've marked it in my calendar. Or, no, I can't be there. And I'm so frigging disappointed because this is so clearly something I should be at, but I've got, my kid's commencement or, whatever else was going on. And so that's kind of how.
And even getting that kind of response, people to respond and say, I know I should be there, is amazing.
Incredible.
So what do you think made that happen? It sounds like the word shenanigans resonated for people, right? And we know, when we talk a lot about alignment, and it's like, when something aligns for you, even if your logical brain hasn't come along with you. But what do you think it was that was magical about that? Assuming it worked out, since we're bringing the story.
It was fantastic. I think the piece that was aligned for those that I sent the email to is, I think for them, it was a refreshing change from the normal, yes, come to my event type of thing. Like, I really just popped off an email. Like, it really, I might have taken the time to bold a line or two, but like, it really was just a note, right, to these people that I knew. And I didn't have, like, there was no header image. Like, it just was really a note, right? So I think there was something about the simplicity of it that happened to appeal to people as well. Sarah?
And I'd also like to say, it's easy to kind of say, oh, like, that's amazing that you just threw out an email and these people came. But the one thing that I would like to say is, you're talking about someone and other people who have, been in their business for some time and who have nurtured those relationships over a long period of time consistently. It's not something that I don't think any of us could have done at the beginning, because we just didn't have the relationships with the people. But at this time, she had worked so hard to, foster all of these really great connections. And then, so when she was like, yeah, I'm doing something that I'm excited about, of course, everybody who cares about her was like, hell yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's very true. And because it was people, I mean, we did only invite people that I knew well and that, that I adored. And then we opened it up beyond that to people that Sarah and Stella knew well too. So it just, at first I thought, well, let's see if I can get any response at all just with the people that I know. And then we did. And so then we're like, okay, this is clearly a go. Let's book a room somewhere. So that's how it happened.
I love it. So I'm guessing this has within it a little bit about the new way forward that you guys talk about and doing things differently and what that really means. So you said it was a refreshing change. There was a simplicity about it. There was relationship as the foundation. And, you know, one of the things that I've personally been experimenting with is doing less planning and more allowing. Really, you know, even though I have containers for clients to step into, really waiting to see, okay, what is that next step, and taking that action before the next one unfolds. And I hear a little bit of that in there. So what is the new way forward? How does that work within this team?
Sarah.
I was gonna say, I'm looking at you, Sel.
Okay. I'll take it.
You do the first half, I'll do the second half.
Yeah, so I think that piece, the new way forward for me as a marketer, like someone who helps people with their marketing message and their copywriting, their words, I really got interested in the idea of the new marketing, this new way forward in marketing, which doesn't rely on intentional psychological triggers and manipulations to get someone to buy something. So I'm a highly trained sales copywriter. I've written, 6-figure email campaigns. I advise people on their webinars and their public talks when they've got an invitation. So I've studied the psychology of what it takes to motivate people to buy, and a lot of it is freaking garbage. It implies and has this assumption about a power differential where you as the salesperson are having a power over your audience. And I find that odious, and I refuse to participate in a practice that is so disrespectful of people's, not even consumers, human intelligence. And quite frankly, I don't want to work with the knuckle draggers and mouth breathers of this world who are motivated by fear and the fear of missing out. Like, that's not interesting to me. I'm really interested in people whose inner story, whose narrative is, I'm a freaking hero. My life is a journey. I'm walking other people home. And that's, once I discovered that in the work of Joseph Campbell and I've known Joseph Campbell for forever, but once I started to apply the idea of the hero story to developing marketing, and that's been the foundation of my marketing work for almost my entire career. But once I looked at that, then I was like, oh my gosh. And I already knew Sarah and I already knew Rebecca, and we were already jiving and talking as on a collegial level about these ideas. We started to realize, once you refuse to manipulate another human being to get their business, and you come from a place of respect for their own intelligence, for their own knowing, for their own intuition, it changes everything about the practice of business. And then that's when I kind of went, oh. And I started to have these instincts, these intimations that the way that I had been doing business was coming to a close. And I needed to join forces with other people who were good at things that I'm not good at, so that we could actually carry this message forward. So, that's the sort of backstory or prologue piece of this. For me, it started with understanding there's a new way forward in marketing, which is lift people up and call them forth to cross the threshold for the adventure that's waiting for them. But then we start to see, well, wait, this changes your pricing. This changes how you promote events, how you fill events. This changes your relationships with your colleagues. This changes the way that you work with your clients. So all sorts of things start to shake out from that foundation. So now, Sarah, I'm happy to kick it over to you if there's more that you'd like to add.
As you were talking, I was just thinking, as part of the journey was I was actually at a place where, I had created my nice 6-figure business coaching, and it was fantastic. And I reached a point where I couldn't continue marketing to my people in the same way. And it paralyzed me because I didn't know what else to do, right? Because that's what I had been taught. It had worked. And I got to the point where I was like, I can't write another email that is like this. And I don't know what's next. So it was really scary, right? Because you've created this whole business, and that was right around the same time that, you know, I'd chatted with Stella, and then, you know, a little bit long, you know, I kind of put on pause and
Sarah, I have a question. When you say, I can't write another email in this way,
yeah.
what is in this way? What was it about the emails you'd been taught to write that
Oh,
like started to feel disingenuous?
well, you know, the ones that we all are taught to write, it's, you know, what's hit their pain point, do a, you know, should I do a fast action bonus? You know, do I need to close the cart at a certain date? You know, what's that date? What's the email that goes on? You know, we all learn this, and it's all based on a manipulation to trigger people into moving faster than they would necessarily want to. Or,
you know,
talk to them about feeling bad about if they don't buy, here's what's wrong with you for not being ready to buy. And it was, I just felt like I was just spewing forth lies in all of these emails, and it had absolutely nothing to do with what I was teaching or what I wanted to help people with. All it had to do, all I was doing is writing to get people to buy. I couldn't do it anymore. I remember once I actually told Stella, I was like, I can't write another launch. Can't do it. That was terrifying. If you built your whole business on that, it is like, oh Lord. It was scary. So luckily I had relationships with wonderful people who were kind of there to be like, yeah, I'm feeling the same way. And yeah, we can do this differently, and let's do it differently together. Right. Cause that's, I mean, you know, that's just, that warms the soul to know that you're not marching alone. Right.
I remember participating in a business mastermind, and really amazing people, like so heart-centered. I built the best relationships. And yet a lot of the conversations were about like what day to send the email, subject lines, and I would have to literally detox when I got home. I needed a full couple days before I could make any decisions just to get that energy out of my system, which I eventually realized that whole process was no longer serving me to be there. But I remember thinking some of the smartest people I know are in this room. And if they invested their energy on something other than email open rates, like what would the world be like, right? If we were freed up from that conversation to have a different conversation. So I love it. Love it. So what would you like listeners to know about, you know, how you guys are working with people and what you've noticed really works? So if someone could steal what you've proven to work in the way that you do it, what would you want them to know?
Well, I don't know if they can. Here's the problem.
I was like, stealing them. No.
Here's the problem. Everybody's business is different, right? And so, and that's part of the thing that we bumped up against was, you know, how do we serve people in a way that is truthful to what they're creating, right? And what we found is that there's not one size fits all. It's just not. But that's so different than the culture that we all swim in, right? Because there's like, you know, 8 million products. Take mine and learn how to do, you know, Facebook ads, and every step is the same and everybody does it the same way. And, you know, this is how you grow your business. You know, start with private clients, then you put in a group, and then, you know, that's the path. And the truth is that everybody's business is really different, and their marketing is very different based on who they are, what they're good at, what their clients need to hear from them. It's so individualized. And so that's why we ended up working this way, is so that we have a lot of one-on-one contact with our clients, because we sit down and go through it and figure out what's right for them, so that when they don't get to the point where they go, I can't write another email like this. Like, I hope no one ever has to feel that way. That sucks.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, so I love that you mentioned that, because, you know, one of the things that we're committed to is creating experiences where people really can learn it and get it in their bones and embody it, right? Alignment for me is all about embodying what it is that you're teaching. And so we have a guest for you to get to experience you live. Are you guys ready for that? Does that feel like a good way to answer that question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Awesome. So she's going to pop on. So we'll see Veronica pop on here in a minute. And, I'll let you guys decide the way that you work, how you want to handle her question. She is a brander, and so she does websites and visual branding, but so much more. She goes beyond, the visual brand. And as you know, the brand is about more than that. And she is totally revamping the way she's doing business from the traditional way of your brand is your website, And so she's got a question for you. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, guys. How you
Hi,
doing?
Veronica.
Meet our fabulous Beaver team here.
Woo! Looks like fun conversation.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Oh.
Yes. So Veronica, you're just jumping in here. I am going to let you ask their question and they'll dive in and seek clarity with you.
Ooh, exciting. Okay. My question is, I'm in the process of developing some new ways of doing what I do. I've recently been bringing more of my woo side, my spirituality and intuition into my branding business. I know. Woohoo! And that has led to some pretty substantial changes in my process. And that's still in process of evolving. But I have a talk coming up. I'm a keynote speaker at the end of March. So I'm developing that talk. And my question is, as I'm developing this new process and I get up in front of the audience at my speech, at the end, I'm allowed to make an offer. So I'm just kind of wondering how I would transition from the speaking to, I really want to attract my high level clients and high level program. So I'm sort of looking just for some clarity around that, how I would go about that nice transition to attract the right people.
Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
Quick clarifying question. What kind of event are you speaking at? And who do you see as being your clients that you're hoping to attract?
The group is spiritual entrepreneurs. So I anticipate a good chunk of those people will be in line with what I'm talking about. And the ideal client that I really see working at that level already has a successful business going, but they're making some changes. They're also pivoting, doing some significant pivots. And their existing branding is not working for them anymore. So they're looking to up-level, expand, and ideally would also be of that mindset where they're very open and interested, feeling like normal branding maybe is missing that more energetic, spiritual, intuitive piece, and that's very important for them and their business and their clientele. Does that help?
Yep, that helps.
Okay.
Veronica, what's your talk on?
Again, still in process, but it really is looking more at that, bringing intuition into the branding process, why that's important, the energetic part of it, and vibration, that really underlies everything. And if that's not there, everything on the surface can look good and sort of work right, but there will be a missing piece, something doesn't add up, and a lot of times people can't articulate that, and I feel like that's my experience, is that's the missing link.
And then how do you usually, as you bring clients in, generally the higher level clients, how do you usually bring them in? Is it through a sales conversation? What have you done in the past? How do you bring people in?
In the past, it's usually a sales conversation. I've gotten almost all my clients have been through referrals, so they know a little bit about me already and are familiar with whoever that work. So most often we'll just have a long conversation and talk a little bit about it. And usually that it just goes right through to contract from there.
Another question, Veronica, do you want to make an offer after you do this talk, or is it more is it more in alignment with your normal process or the process that you've enjoyed to this point to actually for the end of the conversation or the end of the talk to just be about getting on the phone and having a conversation with you?
That's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, actually that probably feels a little more comfortable for me and my style. But I guess I just want to know that I'm speaking to the right people, or saying the right things to attract those right people. And knowing that whatever I am offering or how I'm offering it is going to click for that right segment.
Okay. So it's really more about what you're speaking about and less about the offer that you'll make at the end.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I would suggest that you just scrap any notion of any offer being anything other than a conversation with you. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I would not make any offer other than a conversation, because ultimately from you giving a talk, you can't know for sure that what you've said has landed enough with them for them to really be fully bought into the process that you're going to take them through. Therefore, I would suggest that you need to have a conversation with them just to really make sure they're on page. So
gotcha.
I think we can answer that very quickly. That would be my very quick response, and I think, because you're nodding and I think that feels right. So I think we're gonna say that that's the offer. So I think really the question is more about what to say to the people who are in attendance to make sure that they're getting what what do you always say to me, Sarah? I'm picking up what you're putting down, or how does that go?
Picking up what you're laying down.
Yeah, right. Like you want to make sure they're picking up what you're laying down.
Exactly.
Right? That then causes them to think a little bit more deeply about their own branding experience and therefore have a conversation with you, right?
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So it's a little bit more of a messaging question than really.
That's a good point. Yep. That clicks for sure. Yeah, because I wanted to be able to definitely benefit everybody in the audience and give them something, some information or thought-provoking stuff to take away. But I definitely want it to be geared so that I'm setting myself up properly to attract the right people.
And Veronica, I think it'll flow quite nicely. Like, make sure that your messaging is very clear about, like, hey, the branding is more than just visual. And, and Stella will, I'm sure, help here, because Lord knows this is not my wheelhouse. But the process of it is like knock their socks off with what you believe to be true and why you're doing what you're doing, why it sets you apart, and why it's perfect for this kind of person. And then it will flow very nicely into the offer, which is, hey, if this is resonating with you, if you need help with this, I would love to have a chat with you. Let's set that up. Something very easy like that. It just flows very nicely. But yeah, I think really what it is, it's just a messaging, making sure that you're saying the things to the people who you want to attract, so that you get them in the conversation with you. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah. And it just goes back to thinking about your star client, and I can just say to myself, imagine having a conversation with them, and what would I want them to know, and how would I want to talk to them and stuff. So yeah, great. Thank you very much. That helps a lot.
Stella, I don't know if you want to jump in over top of what I'm about to say, but I really just sort of tracking into the people who will be in the room with you. I think it's interesting, Sarah, you chose to use the word resonate. So I would talk a lot about resonance. So, and I would talk about the layers of resonance. So I would talk about shape and color and how, all of these things have frequency, right? And how the frequency of those elements needs to line up and be resonant with the person themselves. Right, in order for them to be presenting their brand, right? So that the branding, the pieces, the elements of the branding are actually representative of who they are, right? It's gotta line up.
Yeah.
So I see somehow in the stories that you can tell in your talk, somehow layering it to show how I'm sorry, because when I'm tracking intuitively, sometimes my words disappear. So I'd like to see almost presenting it like it's a sandwich. It's like, when your font says this, but your colors say this, they're off, right? They're not lined up. And then you're over here and you're like this, then we've got this like thing that's not a sandwich, right? Instead, we want to bring all of them together. And I would really show some examples. I would show some, pick some you could have fun with it. You could choose like some celebrity that everybody has some idea of what this celebrity is like as a person. Like, we don't really know. Like, or pick Winnie the Pooh, right? Pick Eeyore, like pick a cartoon character, right? Pick Eeyore would be great, actually. And what completely disresonant brand for Eeyore would be to like have some fiery, like wild, crazy font and colors, and like, and it would be a great example to show how this person, this coaches, the Eeyore coach, right? Their personality is not represented by the colors or the font choices or the words or all of these things that you can say. So it's creating disresonance, and so it's not lining up. Right. Yeah. And I would have some fun examples like that. I think your audience would enjoy that. And it feels to me like it would infuse your sense of humor, which is actually quite good. And you're a little quirky in your humor. So I could really see you like having a lot. I think you could have a shit ton of fun with that. Right. And just using like catty examples. And then, I think that illustrates nicely how energetics are at play here in logo and branding. And then I think they'll really see like, oh my goodness, right? Is this how does my own logo and branding and my colors and my font choices and all of those things, do they line up with who I am? Or am I Eeyore pretending to be, right? Somebody other than
Tigger.
Yeah, right? So I think you could just have a lot of fun with that. And then it would be very clear that if you're Eeyore pretending to be this other person or this other character, that people will feel that, right? And to the audience that you're speaking to, they'll really understand what that means, right? So that when people feel the disresonance, it's not attractive. And people, in fact, are generally kind of slightly repelled or put off by disresonance. And that's actually going to be a block or an obstacle to them getting clients. So that's what I would like you to talk about.
I love it.
Yeah.
You get me. Thank you. I love the fun examples idea.
Big bucks. But Stella, you're often a little more eloquent because sometimes when I'm tracking, I'm not very eloquent.
You freaking nailed it. So I love it. I'm just getting excited as all I could do to not blurt out as you were speaking. So this is money in the bank. And if you do Eeyore, I would love it if you sent us a picture of it, because that's a really fun idea. And I think we just have so much fun with it. As Rebecca was saying, I can just picture you, Victoria. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I were in that room.
Yeah.
The one thing that I would submit as you flesh this out and round this out for your consideration is, Rebecca was talking about the sandwiches and how you can structure it. It feels to me like your layers could be like feeling, like how you want your people to feel. And you can talk about like, Eeyore in this, like, is he fiery and red hot, or is he, so feeling is one of those dials. The second one, and I think this is the order that I would recommend, but if it doesn't feel right for you, feel free to move them around. So the first one would be feeling, and helping people visualize what feelings look like from a branding perspective, because that's something that folks that don't know how to do it instinctively really wrestle with. Yeah. The second one is something that I would call the level you're playing the game at.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. And I will just tell you this right now, because I use this one all the time because it's really authentic for me. Is like, this one gets people, this one will actually get people up out of their seats. You will start to see people standing up to talk with you before you even invited to talk, because they know on some level, oh, my website says I'm mom and pop, but I'm here for bigger things. So just you naming that and showing them an example, and you could show them the Eeyore website of, oh, I got my cousin to take my headshot and my husband was a little coding, versus like someone who's invested at a different level. Your people who understand the value of investing will see that and be like, they'll come up to you and just grab you by the shoulders and be like, Victoria, you get me. And the third one, so that's kind of like, I'm seeing this energetically as like, the feeling, people are like, oh yeah, of course, we're at a spiritual entrepreneur conference, we're going to talk about emotions. The level you're playing the game at, people are start to get like hot and itchy, like, oh, she's nailed me. And then kind of bringing it down to energy and talking about on a subtle level what you're seeing when you're looking at a brand. Because that stuff's fascinating. The rest of us love to hear you talk about that, because it helps us get there, but we're often not thinking about it on our own. So those would be the three layers of the sandwich if I had any say in the matter, which I do in this moment. So for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Oh, this is all really great stuff. And I already I'm getting all the sparks in my brain, all these ideas. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So that's great.
Yeah, it's great. We do want to see that cloud of your.
Yes, I love it. What I'm taking is it's so much simpler than maybe it might have felt before, because I believe those are things that you believe and talk about naturally.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a complicated offer.
That's great.
Love it.
Make sure you, at the end, you really do ask to have them have a sign up sheet or something where they can write their names down. I know this is the boring little mechanical parts, but it actually makes a big difference of getting them actually on the phone, which is the whole point. So do have a sign up sheet at the back, or have someone help you who can help get them to sign up or get their names, and make sure you have a really good system to call and then get them scheduled. Whatever process you want to do, just take some time to think it through and make sure that it happens, because I do see a lot of times where this falls apart, where they'll offer but there's no way for them to sign up, and then you lose the opportunity. So just make sure you hammer out the details to make sure you can.
Yeah, no friction.
That's right.
Make it nice and easy.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, because that's in alignment with your brand.
True. Absolutely.
Right? There isn't meant to be friction in their work with you, because that's who you are. So, it's important that even that process be seamless and have flow to it, because
yes, ma'am.
It's a beautiful form, not a sign-up sheet on a notebook paper like this.
Please don't do that.
Oh no, be designed. Either that, or I might use an iPad.
Figure out what is
yeah, I'll do something
for your brand, which
classy.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Fabulous.
Is this helpful, Veronica?
It is. It's really helpful. And now I feel more excited to have fun instead of terrified.
Yay!
Yay!
And there's an energy infusion. I see an energy infusion that just happened for you, that you got poured into here from this amazing team.
Yeah.
We're excited
I love
too.
it.
Yeah. We're excited about it too, Veronica.
Yay! That's something.
Perfect.
Well, I'll keep you posted.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Veronica.
Thanks for your time and input. I really appreciate it.
Bye.
Good luck with it.
Thanks.
All right, ladies, thank you. I'm going to ask kind of a broad question, and you can take it where you want. Insights that for our listeners from that session would be one option, or your own personal, any piece of your journey to actually owning your alignment or your transformation. So you could take it either direction.
Can you ask the second question in a different way, Darla?
Yeah. And I meant to ask this earlier. So in your own journey to being here, right? To choosing to collaborate, to finding one another, to having your messaging be about a new way forward and really disrupting things. What did you have to shift to be able to be that person? To be the person who, and I'm even thinking to be the person who can collaborate, right? And to leave space for each other, and to, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of layers, but if someone has one popping to mind, to let people know, when you talk to Stella about what level you're playing at, right? This journey's not for the faint of heart when you're playing at this level. So yeah, it looks like Sarah.
I would just say that there is a continual learning edge for all of us. Myself, I am talking about myself more, but yeah, I mean, I think kind of as I usually am, jumping in with 2 feet because it sounded like a fantastically exciting idea, and I could see that it made sense and I was excited about it. And then also realizing that the universe puts you in a position because you need to be there, and it's like, okay, yes, you're still growing, Sarah. You still have a lot of, work to do. And I think, working with other people who are playing a game at this level, it requires you to step up and deal with your shit And see, I did it. I was the first one. And so it's, it's one of those things where it's, you gotta be on your game, and you have to be willing to go through it and show up in a new way all the time, because it's not just you. There's other people there who are depending on you, and the business is depending on you, and it's not okay to just sit back and be like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that today. Right. So, yeah, I think and I also speak for myself, but it's definitely in this very short amount of time. What is it, Rebecca? Is it 9 months? How long has it been?
6 or 7.
Yeah. And if you just kind of go back and think, like, I always will reflect and say, like, because I can step back into how I was thinking about things then. And there's been a huge, I've had to grow up. And that's a good thing.
So is that like, because you've got, we all know or have heard the idea we're the average of the 5 people closest to us. So you've got now all of a sudden this built-in community.
Yeah, and I also think it's like
calling you to not hide.
No, not hide. It's really like dealing with the little isms about yourself that do affect other humans, and having to deal with it, like not being able to say, yeah, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to deal with that. Like,
I feel that I need to tell a story about myself and my experience today that will illustrate the principle that Sarah's pointing to.
Yeah.
I don't mind going first, and I don't mind.
Hi, my name is Stella.
Twist in the breeze. I was in a meeting I was in an operations and marketing meeting with Sarah and our special ops marketing person, Jillian, who previously functioned and continues to function as my right-hand woman in my company of Stella Orange. I ran a very successful email marketing company, very popular, cult-like following. I had a team of 5 people. And then when I got together with these two, the first month I took a month off and I was in Japan while the 2 of them sold the pants off of this business without me. And I wasn't involved at all. I said, go to, I trust you both, and I'll show up to work on August 1. And that happened. And I look back and I'm like, what are you, a dum-dum? Like, who does that? But like, that's showing up. And I was like, yeah, I really want to be in this business, and I'm going on my honeymoon, and I'm going away for a month, and I'm not going to be on my cell phone or email. So have fun. I'll talk to you when I get back. But today I was in this meeting with Sarah and Jillian, and the way that I normally plan marketing campaigns is I take myself to a beautiful cafe. I walk there from my house. I get a donut. I sit at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and I envision how the campaign is going to look. And I talk to my muses, and I talk to my soul, and I talk to the soul of my business. And there's this alchemy, and I'm listening to Radiohead, and it's just this fugue state of creation. And Jillian and Sarah today were like, hey, so we've got this workshop coming up in April. Do we want to talk about now or next week? And I totally went into panic. And I was like, no, this isn't how it goes. And I basically told the 2 of them, I'm like, you guys, I'm super anxious right now because this is not how I've planned campaigns for the last 8.5 years of my life. And I'm like, I feel like I'm walking around without pants on. And they giggle because they know me and they know my thing. And they're like, well, what do you need? And I was like, I just need to be here for a second, and I just need to be vulnerable with you guys. And I'm a grown-ass woman just telling my business partner and long-term team member that I'm scared shitless because someone moved my freaking cheese. So, right? So that's what I feel like when you're saying this conceptually, Sarah, I'm having a very visceral reaction in my body of total and utter panic. I've heard people that talk about it in their meditation practice where the floor of their identity just drops out beneath them and they're just in free fall. I signed up for that apparently. That wasn't in our agreement when we first got together, but that's what we're showing up for every day. And then Sarah ends the call with, well, we got through that today. Can't wait to see what that looks like for you tomorrow. It's just going to keep happening.
Hey, but I'm just going to say, at least you got invited to the marketing meeting because I'm not even on that team.
That's right.
About having to give things
up.
I get to be there.
Liston, Darla doesn't have that long to work on our issues on her podcast. That's a different podcast.
But I I love that you shared that, and I know I can always count on you to keep it real, because this is the real world. This is the real life, right? And my mission I happen to do through transformational retreats, but is to normalize transformation on the planet, so that it's not a weird and scary and crazy thing to say, I feel like the floor just dropped out from under me and I'm feeling really anxious right now. Because in our society, then that's panic, right? Then everybody thinks something's wrong and now we have to fix it. But if you have a world where that's where we understand, have a common language, that transformation is part of the journey, I don't think anybody looks panicked that Stella is freaking out right now, right? Because it's a safe space for you to share how you feel, and everybody trusts you to be the hero in your own story and work that out and get your needs met. Whereas I believe, and I have a corporate background, that in most of the world, it doesn't work that way. It's like, oh, you're vulnerable, right? Like, you're out, like, we're just going to steamroll forward without you. And so you have this culture where you can honor your process, which to me seems amazing. So I really appreciate that sharing. Anything coming up?
Amazing, but uncomfortable. That's what I want to say. I want the last word. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, you say that, it's interesting because one of the things that we are very aware of is that the clients that work best with us are using business as a method for personal transformation and growth, right? So that's a truism about all of our clients, is that business for them is not just about making money. They believe in what they're doing, they love their work, and they believe that their business is going to help them evolve as humans and grow, which is also a core belief of the three of us and part of the culture that, we now have a company, and it's part of the culture that we are creating, not just with our clients, but with the people that we work with on the daily basis too. So, and it's scary sometimes.
And scary is
amazing.
Normal. That's right. Yeah. It's normal. And I love that about your mission, Darla. Like, you said that to me, I think when we were getting this together a week or two ago, and I was like, amen. I think I told you, I wrote it down on a Post-it note. Yeah. That you hold the vision and we do along with you, this idea that transformation is normal. Like, that's what the hero story is about. Yeah. It's like,
yes.
We're all growing, because otherwise what's the point? If we sit on the couches of our comfort for the rest of our lives, who wins?
Yeah. And the reason I approach it through retreats is there's an intimacy, right? We're in a room with other human beings where we can't hide. And you three have set up your life to be in business with other human beings who see you, right? Yeah, and who hold you to account. So
we need to reconsider.
It's beautiful though. And I mean, I feel you. I feel like what it would feel like in my stomach to have to change the way that I've done things for
I don't have to. It's the thing. I could keep doing it the way that I do it. It just wouldn't be a fit. Like, they both gave me those faces that were like, you could do that still with us, Stella. But
it's true, but hang on. Let's just make that point though. There is a time where things do have to change. And there's also a time where we bring all of what we know of who we are and what's worked for us in the past, and we bring that forward with us too. Like, we don't leave.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Good stuff. Like, every journey that we take, right? We still bring all the good stuff. Like, we bring our water bottle and our stuff, like soup that we collected on our last trip, and like, in the backpack that served us for the last 8 years that hasn't fallen apart. Like, we're still going to use it. It's just, I think it's about just asking yourself, right? Not just assuming that's the way the marketing campaign will come together, but to sit and kind of go, no, actually, that's the way the marketing campaign is going to come together, because that makes sense today just as much as it did 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's the key. It's about not being in the habit of it, but actually consciously choosing to do it that way, because it still makes sense. So I think that's what it calls us to question about the things that we become attached to after, 16 years I've been self-employed. Like, you do get some pretty, you kind of,
we've noticed.
I know. Okay, but look at in seriousness, it's very hard to step away from some of these things, right? Like, Darla, they don't even.
They're like a nice, sweet, lovely security blanket. That have kept yourself safe for a long time, and it's hard to get rid of them.
It's that sense of control, right? Like not knowing what's going on in entire sections of this business are really weird. It's really weird feeling when you're used to kind of knowing everything that's happening in your business, but there's entire elements that we know nothing about.
Again, this is how
shows up at meetings now.
Yeah.
Honestly, Darla, it's a blast every day.
I can't wait. So I'd like to make a date to talk with you in a year, where you can share everything you've learned, because I mean, I just really admire it. I think it's amazing because I know that every time each of you grows, it's like your strength grows as a company, and that energy translates to your clients, and they become more brave to say what's true and to stand for what works for them and be willing to be flexible or surrender, which for me, surrender is like the key where we move into transformation is surrender. And you're playing with that on a daily basis. So I can't wait to hear what you learn. It's amazing.
Thank you.
So people can tune in and get more of the three of you regularly, but they have to show up, right? And I love this about the thing that I noticed as I was studying your business is the way you embed your principles into everything you do. So there's no like hidden opt-in box and, secretly consume all your content, but never speak to you. Like people can actually speak to you. Mm-hmm. So tell us when can they speak to you? How can they speak to you? What group do they need to get in, and how do they get your support?
Go, Stella.
Yeah. So I think that the way to kind of check us out and get a taste of a further taste of what we just experienced with Victoria is we do a monthly gathering online called Coffee Talk. And that's where we do like a love seat, basically like we just did with Victoria, where business owners, coaches, consultants, healers present a business issue or a question or something they've been chewing on. They want the three of us to weigh in. And we just do it exactly like we did with Victoria. And we actually, Coffee Talk started in a live event. It just happened organically. And we were like, oh, that's really powerful. And so we actually took that idea and just put it into all of our programs and a lot of our marketing, because that's, as Sarah says, that's our jam. Like that's where the magic happens in conversation with the three of us, holding a container for another person. So you can sign up for that if you're interested. There's one a month. I don't know when the one is. There's one coming up in March, and that's at stellaorange.com.
So we have.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes. stellaorange.com/coffee-talk. That link will also be in the show notes for people. So they can hop on a list and get notified to apply to do a love seat like Veronica and really have all three of you lasered in on their business, which is amazing. And then BeaverCon is happening again as well, right? So if you want to come get in the room with these lovely ladies, you can learn about BeaverCon over on Stella's site as well. And is there also an Orange Liston and Do site? Or is that coming soon?
For BeaverCon, we have beavercon.com. But there is no Orange
Liston. Perfect.
There is no Orange Liston and Do website. And if I were invited to a marketing meeting, I might be able to tell you when it might be coming, but they're not
invited.
Not invited.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, and what's amazing though is you can send an email that says, hey, we're up to shenanigans, want to come? And you don't need a website. Like you're doing what you teach, which is creating what's in alignment for you right now, which is amazing.
And we will have a website, but just not yet.
Just someday.
Love it. Excellent. All right. One parting word, Sarah, or it could be a phrase.
Oh my gosh, the pressure.
Stella, we'll come back.
Thank you.
A parting word?
Yeah.
Have fun. Like retreats should be fun. Building your business should be fun. Talking shop with other colleagues should be fun. And it should feel good.
Love it.
As I would add to that.
Love it. Rebecca.
As I always add to that, because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because otherwise,
Keep it simple and find your friends. Hold them tight.
Amazing. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for who you are in the world. I'm grateful to be on this journey together. And please let me know what you need.
we'll
Big
do.
hugs.
Awesome. Thank you, Darla.
Thanks, Darla.
Bye. If you've been wanting to incorporate transformational retreats into your fabulous business model, but you're not quite sure where to start, hop on over to retreatleaderquiz.com. In this short 10-question quiz, you will receive your personalized results, one of 6 retreat leader archetypes that will show you what your strengths are as a retreat leader, the pitfalls to look out for, and even give you a sample agenda that you can take and make your own. Again, that's at retreatleaderquiz.com.